It's very nice to meet both of you. Growing up in a house full of movie lovers, my father always informed us, if we were watching something, he's like, oh, that's a remake of so-and-so. And we'd say, well, why did they make a remake? And he's like, I guess it was time. For you, why was it time to not make a remake for Point Break?
Reason is 25 years later, and we all loved the original Point Break and the themes of it and wanted to leave that alone. So instead of remaking, our plan was to reimagine it, to take the characters and tell our own story with it based on the events of today on a world scale.
There's a balance of originality and kind of paying homage to the old one. How do you balance that out?
We certainly wanted our characters and have an homage to the original, but see how those characters would react to the world of today. So we have elements that will certainly make fans of the original happy, but it's a standalone movie. The original still exists, and we hope this is a great companion piece that people will love as well.
Yeah. Before you're jumping off a cliff, what is going through your mind?
Well, it depends on the cliff. It depends on what you're doing during that. Usually what you're thinking before stepping off the cliff is, just what you have to do in the next few minutes to survive. It's a sport of survival. It's a sport of trying not to die, And because you're doing something like that, it's a very powerful connection. And in the next few moments, you connect to the universe in which you live in a way that you don't connect to it any other way. And it's a very special feeling. And I think that that's why a lot of people who do these sports, I think that the film kind of shows this passion that comes from connecting to the world and the nature in which you live. And then because you connect to it in the film, they want to try to protect it. And they want to try to give back to it.
These sports are showing fantastic and just they look amazing. But there's practical effects and then also CGI. What's the ratio?
We did everything in camera.
Yeah.
The actual action is in camera. If we did any sort of effects work, it was really to remove safety lines and ropes, make the most incredible extreme athletes in the world look like Bodie in Utah. But beyond that, we did our events in camera, which is hard to believe at times, certainly in the wingsuiting sequence, that all those shots are actually in camera. There's not green screen or wire work involved in that at all, which added a level of authenticity and I think intensity to this film that is unlike others.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I was very happy to see at the very end of the film, the Wasatch Mountains, Utah, because it's home. How was your trip to Utah?
We shot, the Utah mountains were actually shot in the Dolomites. Actually, I take that back, the Italian Alps, just outside of Mont Blanc, is where we shot Wasatch, for a very good reason, because that's where we did our snowboard unit. But in Utah, we did shoot Swing Arm City in southern Utah, outside of Page, for the most extraordinary motocross sequence in the film, which is at the beginning of it.
Fantastic. And one last question, because the man is a legend. What is your favorite Patrick Swayze movie?
Point Break.
Yeah, Point Break for sure.
That's what everybody's saying. It's a pleasure to meet you. When you're doing a film like this, obviously there's a lot of physical training and whatnot. What kind of training did you go through and how much appeared on camera?
Yeah, well, I was very lucky to jump into this film right after I had shot a boxing film for over a year.
Sure.
So the stamina and my condition was on top form. And that was a privilege. I mean, I lucked out, being offered this film right after this other very physically challenging film. So that helped me a lot because boxing is all about leg control and core control, and that helped me a lot with surfing and with rock climbing and also with snowboarding.
With a character that's been reimagined, do you ever go back to the original source and look at it just to see like what Patrick Swayze had done with it, or do you just kind of say, I'm gonna have my own thing and just not even touch it?
No. I mean, I really respect and I'm fascinated by what Patrick Swayze did in the first film, because it's actually the reason why I wanted to be in this film, because I was so inspired by him. So I took what he did as a very important source of inspiration for me. But I didn't want to touch it but I didn't want to distance myself from it either.
Sure.
I mean, I just wanted to be inspired by it, and whatever would naturally integrate to my performance, then I would welcome it. But I didn't want to try to replicate it, nor distance myself. I just wanted to be inspired by what he did, because what he did was brilliant and was beautiful, and it should, it's the reason why we all wanted to be in this film. Yeah.
I think your version of Brody is basically an anti-hero and kind of questioning the status quo and whatnot. Like, what about that version of him attracted you to the project?
He's a free spirit in the sense that he makes his own choices, and he defends the self-determination. For him, it is very important to take responsibility for what you do, and to make every decision consciously. I mean, with an open consciousness, and that's something that really attracted me to it. I mean, what he does and the actions that he carries out, that is a different discussion.
Yeah.
Because there are lines that in my life I wouldn't cross.
Yeah.
That he crosses, and that was very interesting for me to explore.
Sure.
But the fact that he's willing and he's aware of he's willing to take responsibility for the things that he does, and aware of the consequences of those choices. That for me was very inspiring, because the thing is that he believes that nobody should determine the direction your life takes. That is something that should be determined by you.
I think I might know the answer to this one, but because the man is a legend and he's missed dearly, what is your favorite Patrick Swayze movie?
Point Break, Ghost, and Dirty Dancing.
Perfect.
Yeah, the three of them. I like them very much.
Awesome. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Lovely to meet you, Jim.
This movie, obviously, tons of stunts and physical activities and whatnot, and I've met a lot of the advisors already that trained you guys. What kind of training did you receive, and how much appeared on camera?
Well, I did a lot of rock climbing training, actually. I mean, I grew up surfing, so the towing behind the jet ski and stuff, that was all good for me, and I really enjoyed that. That was kind of a dream come true, being able to be at Chopu and see this wave break and hang out with Led Hamilton and Bruce Irons and Brian Keelana and Ray Mana and all that stuff. That was a bit of a kid in a candy store kind of thing for me, but yeah, I did a lot of rock climbing training, and Chris Sharma, I think, is here. You might have talked to him. He's the world's best rock climber, and
Yeah.
so it's pretty handy when you've got the world's best rock climber giving you a couple of tips.
Nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, actually. I really, really enjoyed the rock climbing. It's a really beautiful thing. It's quite black and white. You start at the bottom and either you get to the top or not, but then in between that you find some real beauty, and it's almost like a dance up the wall. It's
Sure.
something I didn't expect to like so much.
With a character that's been kind of done before and now it's being reimagined, for you, do you kind of research that character? Do you watch the original film, or do you just kind of say, I'm going to do this on my own? You know, Keanu did great, but
It's kind of hard for me. I've done my research on the character from growing up in Sydney on the beach and watching Point Break my whole life. You know, I know the movie back to front, the original. It's so good, you know.
Yeah.
And I love it so much. It's something you kind of grow up with in Sydney when you're growing up on the beaches and surfing and stuff in the 90s. So for me, it was always there. I'm so aware of it, and I'm a huge fan. That's why I was just beside myself when I found out I was going to be Johnny Utah. I mean,
Yeah.
what a dream come true for me. And yeah, so I wanted the heart. I mean, that's exactly what we wanted with this reimagining. We wanted the heart, we wanted the soul, we wanted the passion, we wanted the intensity that Point Break had, but we also wanted to have a new version of it, one that was a 2015, 2016 version of Point Break.
you say you're a fan of the original film. Were you kind of just giddy as a school kid when you're laying on your back, firing the gun into the air and
Oh, yeah.
saying, I'm doing
Are
this?
you kidding me, man? Like, that is... And the thing is, I was so happy with it because it really works, you know. Like, it wasn't just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
For me, it was so warranted, and it was so true, and that was like, I mean, I got home from work and I think I called a mate of mine or something that night and was like, dude, you wouldn't believe what I did today, man. I rolled on my back and shot a gun in the air and said,
There you
it was
go.
great.
What attracted you to this version of the character?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, he's in this funny place between loving chaos and then loving structure and having to try and find the balance between the two. And I think we're all looking for that in our life. We all want the spontaneity, and we all want to live our lives as much as we can, but we also want the security and the structure and the stability to know that we can get up tomorrow morning and do it all again. So yeah, that was really interesting for me. You know, you see him at the start of the movie, he's just a young kid full of life, and then this kind of quite tragic incident happens, and you see it, you know, and then it hard cuts to him in the FBI. And it's a tough road for him, and I think that really holds him back from finding out who he is. But the whole movie is him finally getting there.
Yeah.
And I think finding that path and finding that place where he wants to exist.
Lastly, because the man is an absolute legend, what is your favorite Patrick Swayze movie?
Point Break,
That's what everybody said.
obviously.
Pleasure meeting you.
Lovely to meet you, Jim. How we going, man?